Hello, Red Cohort. So this is my presentation for our last final assignment of term 3 in our scholarly design class. And so just for today, I want to let you guys know that I am presenting my qualitative study that I have titled The Lived Experience of Occupational Identity Change in Veterans with PTSD During Military to Civilian Transition. As all of you know, I myself am a United States Marine Corps veteran, and so when given the chance to choose populations to research, study, and dive deeper into, I'm always going to choose my veteran population just because we go through so much from going to civilian life into military life, and then from military life, if you choose to get out before your retirement, 20 years back into civilian life, it is quite a change. Obviously with the military, you experience all kinds of things: combat, deployments, PCS, which is change of duty station, so a lot of traveling, new units, being in new jobs, in just different billets and things like that. So it's a lot. A lot goes into becoming a service member. A lot goes into maintaining like your position as a service member, and then a lot goes into leaving that position to then regain your civilian identity. So that's a little backstory of why I chose this particular population, question, and type of research. So the central concept guiding the study is occupational identity, which is occupational science, which is, as occupational science refers to, as a person's involving sense of who they are and who they are becoming through participation through meaningful roles and occupations. For many military veterans, identity is deeply connected to service, structure, mission, and camaraderie. Very true. When veterans leave the military, especially those living with PTSD like myself, this transition can disrupt daily routines, roles, and their sense of self. So, the research question for my study was, how do veterans with PTSD describe changes in their occupational identity during the transition from military to civilian life? Again, something that I've not recently, I guess it's been about 10 years for me now, but something that I went through myself, and I was young. I was about 26, and it's interesting now to research feelings, emotions, and things that I was going through at 26, which I consider very young, and to now be 37, almost to my 40s now, and to know the things that I know and kind of look back and realize the things that I was going through that at the time I didn't really know how to pinpoint these emotions I was going through, but now I can kind of research and figure it out. So very interesting. So the literature consistently shows that the military to civilian transition presents significant challenges for veterans. All right, so previous research has highlighted that difficulties reestablishing routines, loss of structure and purpose, and identity strain following separation from the service. Veterans with PTSD experience additional barriers such as symptoms of hyperarousal, avoidance, sleep disturbances that further limit occupational engagement, anxiety, depression, everything, the works, you name it. PTSD, headaches, a symptom. The literature suggests that both occupational disruption and the physiological stress contribute to challenges in identity reconstruction during this transition. The study used a qualitative design to explore veterans who have lived experiences in this trauma. The participants included 3 United States Marine Corps veterans whom I know personally, who are all diagnosed with PTSD. Their ages, they're male, and they range from 37 to 47. Each participant was at a different stage of civilian reintegration whenever I did these interviews, including employment challenges, building participation, employment challenges, rebuilding family roles, and engagement in therapy or peer mentorships at the time. And so the data was collected through semi-structured 15-minute interviews that focused on occupational identity, meaningful activities, symptom impact, and social supports. And these interviews were transcribed verbatim and analyzed using the Brunn and Clark's thematic analysis, which involved coding transcripts and identifying shared patterns and themes. So as far as themes, there are three major themes that emerged from these findings. The first theme was the losing the uniform means losing a sense of self. And this is actually pretty big because when you are a civilian going into the service, you lose yourself to gain the uniform. So once the uniform is then taken off, you have to then try to regain yourself. Again, something I know very, very well. It's very personal. Boot camp is not easy, no matter which branch that you go into, and boot camp is designed for you to kind of sacrifice who you are as a person, as an individual, to give everything that you have to your branch of service, which is then onto your country to earn the uniform, to earn whatever emblem that uniform represents, to earn your stripes, your chevrons, your rank, right? So that is everything when you're in the Marine Corps. The things that you wear outwardly lets everyone else in the military service world know who you are within these rankings. So when you take that off, you kind of have to find yourself again. So losing the uniform means losing your sense of self. This is a big one. The participants described that the loss of military service was also a loss of purpose and clarity about who they are. One veteran even shared, "When I left the Marines, it felt like I left the version of me that made sense." The second theme was PTSD symptoms influence daily function and self-perception. So veterans described how symptoms limited what they felt capable of doing and altered how they viewed themselves. One participant explained, "My PTSD limits what I can handle, so sometimes I feel like a different person entirely." The third theme was meaningful occupation and supportive environments facilitates rebuilding. Another very important one. So the participants emphasized that engaging in meaningful activities and supportive relationships helped them to reconnect to purpose and identity. One veteran stated, "Mentoring other vets reminded me I still have something to offer." So this was a really big one because this veteran in particularly, he was a staff sergeant going for gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps. And so for him to leave such a high ranking, come back into the civilian world, it was a really big shock for him. He found means as a personal trainer, and through that began to be a teacher and an instructor, and through that began a mentorship. And that mentorship, I watched with my own eyes, really help him realize, even without the title, that he was still admirable and he was someone to emulate and to guide others, which is what staff sergeants do in the Marine Corps. So overall, the findings suggest that occupational identity disruption is a central experience for veterans with PTSD during the transition of civilian life. These experiences align with the existing literature described identity strain, loss of structure, role ambiguity, and military separation. Importantly, these findings also reinforce occupational science, a concept which links doing, being, and becoming, showing that meaningful occupations and supportive environments play a critical role in identity reconstruction. From an occupational therapy perspective, this highlights the importance of trauma-informed, occupation-centered interventions that support veterans in rebuilding roles, routines, and a renewed sense of self. Thank you so much for listening.